Hello everyone, Coach Mel here. So I have a really quick tutorial for you today, and it is this. So I need to remake my dish sponge, scrubby if you would, because somebody was careless with a knife, I'm sure. This probably lasted me close to a year, and I absolutely love it. I prefer it over a sponge, but as you could see, it's seen a better day. I've been using it like this for a few weeks now, and I decided that I was gonna make a new one, but that I would bring you a tutorial on it. It's super easy, and I just love them. All right, let's get started. So, first thing I want to tell you is that working with scrubby yarn, I'm just gonna show you, this is a different one because I don't have the label for the yellow, but this is Red Heart Scrubby Cotton. All right, this one's just a little bit different. I find this one to be, the yellow to be a little bit coarser, and I really like it for the scrubbies. But working with this yarn by itself, I don't enjoy. It's tricky, it's hard to see your stitches, not so much on the yellow, but it's a tricky yarn to work with. But when you pair it with, and I'm just using sugar and cream cotton here, when you pair it with some cotton, it's so much easier to work with, and I just love it. So what I'm using today is the scrubby yarn and some cotton, and I'm using an H hook, all right? And we're gonna start with that slip knot. So around we go and through. Hold that center and pull your tails down. All right. Putting that on our hook, this is all going to be single crochets. I want this to have a nice tight consistency to it, as you can see here, okay? So we're gonna start with a chain. Now, you can do a chain. I would suggest doing 11 or 13. I like even numbers, and you'll see, I know those aren't even numbers. Don't worry, I know that, but it is when you start to come back. So I'm gonna do 12. Or 13 actually. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure you grab both yarns every time. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay, now we're starting in the second chain from the hook, so that's why it's going to end up being 12, but you do it whatever width you want it. We are going to make this really long because it's going to be folded in half. If you could see here, I could stick my finger in there. I have two thicknesses there. I like it nice and thick. I feel it's a little bit too thin if you do a single layer. So we're going to make this long. We'll fold it in half and stitch it together. All right, so we're not going to start here in this first one. We're going to start over here in the second chain. We're going to put that hook into the chain, yarn over, pull through your loop, yarn over, and come through both. And we're going to work our way across in single crochets until we have 12 single crochets. So that was 3. Here's 4. Going 5 and 6, 7. These make great gifts. It's good to use up some yarn that you have, and they work up pretty quickly. Of course, it's all depending on the size that you make. You can do it single. It doesn't have to be doubled. You can do it bigger and more square, so more like a cloth, a washcloth, as opposed to a sponge. I like mine to be sponge size, and this is 12. All right, make sure you get into that last one. All right, so there's our first row. All right, and as you could see the stitches pretty clearly here. You've got the two yarns working together. We're gonna chain 1, and we're gonna turn. Now, I never work in my chains on this, so it's great if you pull that chain down, make it nice and snug, it almost goes away. And we are gonna start right here in this very first stitch with our single crochet. All right, and work your way across. Now, the hardest part about single crocheting and just coming across like this is when you get to the end. A lot of people miss that last stitch. So I'm gonna work with you here and show you where that last stitch is, and you can always count. So it's a 12 count that I'm doing here. And when you get to the end, if you're only at 11, you know you got either one more stitch to do, or maybe you skipped a stitch somewhere so you can take a quick look. But it's worth doing a count because you want this to be nice and even. You don't want your ends to come in and have a wonky shaped sponge. Maybe you want a wonky shaped sponge, but I don't. I like them rectangular. All right. Okay, so that's my number 11. Now, this end part right here, it's a little bit tricky because the stitch kind of falls over, okay? So you have this little thing right here. We're gonna go over top of that and we're gonna push through. Make sure you get through. See what I mean about it being tricky? Let me move this down for you. Push through that last one. So now that I'm through, let me show you. So I've got all my stitches there. I got both sides of it. So if you only picked up on one, it would leave it a little bit looser down on this end. So make sure you get under the whole stitch and finish your single crochet. All right, so that's row 2. So you're just gonna do the same thing all the way through. I do 36 rows, which makes it nice and long, and then you will fold it over, which I will show you in a moment. But go ahead and turn the video off and make your rows. Make this whatever size you want. Totally up to you. I happen to use 36 rows, but you just keep going back and forth, or, you know, until you run out of one of your yarns, whatever. But just have fun with this, and we will be back to show you how to stitch this all together. See you in a little bit. All right, so here I have done 36 rows because remember I said we're gonna fold it in half. So that's the size that my sponge will be. All right, and now what we're gonna do is I'm going to attach this edge with a single crochet. So we're gonna go ahead, get some more yarn here, fold it in half. All right, this is where I ended right here. So I'm gonna do a chain 1 because I wanna go right back into that same stitch that I just ended at. So my last one, and then I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna pick up the stitch on the back of it, come through and yarn over and single crochet. Go through your next stitch, match it up with that stitch from the back, pull through, yarn over, single crochet. So we're gonna continue that down all 12 of our stitches, through and through. Whoops, make sure, like through the whole thing, that you're grabbing both loops, both of your yarns, the scrubby and the cotton, through and through, through and through. All right, a couple more, almost at the end. Now, when we get to the end, I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna tuck my tails inside because the whole thing is gonna get stitched. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be pretty on the inside. That was your starter down here, so it's already got the slip knot. Through and through. Through and through. And last one here. I'm going to tuck that inside. I'm going to go kind of around that knot. Oops. Going through. Okay, now I am going to leave a long tail and finish off. I'm going to tuck that inside. And I'm going to now stitch down the edge. I don't particularly love to do a single crochet down the edge too. I'd rather whip stitch it. So I'm gonna take some of my yarn, cut it off here. I know that I have plenty. I'm gonna pull all of that through this final single crochet. I cut off way more than I needed. That's okay. And I'm gonna thread it onto my needle. Nope, that's my bobby pin. I'm gonna thread it onto my needle. And then we're gonna just whip stitch down the edge. It's gonna blend right in. And again, this is a sponge. It's not anything that needs to be pretty, but I'm just coming up through the back back to front. Just make sure your loops, you don't want to make it loopy. We just want to go around. But I mean, look, you could hardly even see where the stitches are. So you're going to work yourself down this edge. Now, if you've got enough of your yarn, because I cut a real lot, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide myself across the end and then go up the other side instead of cutting off and all of that. The more that you could avoid knots, the less the possibility of something coming apart. So I'm just stitching down the end. Keep that going, couple more. And again, I'm not, like I said, I'm not being pretty about this. I'm not being exact about this. I just want it to stay together. All right, get one down in that last corner. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna literally take it and run it across, because I have plenty of yarn left from what I cut off. So instead of stopping and starting, whoops, I'm just gonna weave myself across the bottom. This is the folded edge. So it's already got a nice finished off edge there. My scrubby keeps wanting to grab on. It's got a nice roughness to it. It's good for scrubbing those plates. Bring yourself across. All right, and now I'm gonna continue down this other side. Same thing as I just did, that whip stitch. My loop keeps getting stuck here. Just continue right down that side. Now the nice thing about these is that they can be washed. So if it gets yucky or stinky, you could throw it in the wash. Always wring it out. They stay wet for a long time. I will tell you that because of the cotton yarn. They will stay wet for quite a while. So best to wring it out as best you can and then, you know, leave it like on the edge of your sink or something. But I love mine. I think my last one, like I said, I think it lasted close to a year, and I'm sure it was my sons not being careful about how they were washing their knives that ruined it. All right, so I'm gonna come through here. This is my last stitch, and I'm gonna loop it back. Whoop. I'm gonna loop it back through that last one. Okay, come through again. Just want to finish this off nice and securely. And now I'm going to do like I would with any other crochet project, and I'm going to weave that end in and a couple backtracks. I always like to backtrack once or twice on my weave ends. Just keeps it nice and secure. And clip off my excess. And there you go. You have your brand new scrubby. So this is a great, quick item to make. Nice gift idea. It's got a little bit of texture to it from that scrubby yarn, and you are good to go. You have a nice fashionable sponge to use. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Check out some of my other tutorials and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for joining me. Bye everyone.